Is my microphone on? Does that work? You did tell me I had to turn that on, didn't you? Hello? It works here. One of my strengths is not technical stuff like this. No idea. Okay, great. Excellent. All right, so where are we currently? Okay. Throughout the past 6 months, we have been actually adding members to the committee. A select few, like Officer Wright Ward, who has experience in this. He was a project manager for a large company for a number of years before he became a police officer. We have Eric Kelly on the committee, who's very knowledgeable, and he was on the original. Some of you don't, I don't know if everyone, so I'll just repeat where we started. We actually started this project in 2018. Unfortunately, in the middle of all that, COVID happened, inflation happened, different administrations happened downstairs, as we well know, so it never got followed through on. We had Norwich University do a project for the original building as it was a police building. The building that they had developed in that original committee was 3 floors. There was a basement and 2 floors above ground. Consequently, the building that I'm going to be asking for is the exact same thing. It's just a different purpose altogether for building. The original building was only police. I came in and threw a wrench into that. I don't think it's very smart not to include the town hall in this project. If the building's gonna be the same size, it's gonna be 2 floors, excuse me, and a basement floor that's finished, and we can put town hall in it, why wouldn't we? If the building, if I've heard so many people say, well, I would approve the police building in a second. Well, it's the same size. But the original building that I saw had a lot of fluff, if you will, in terms of what's actually needed for space for police. Okay? The original building had a firing range in the basement. I don't need that, nor do I want that. For obvious liability reasons, but also everybody's gonna wanna use it. And you can soundproof the heck out of anything, you're still gonna hear it. And I also don't want, I'd probably be one of the most unpopular chiefs in the area because one department would mess it up and I would just say, okay, none for anybody. And then there goes the indoor range. Now everybody has to go back to Belmont to do an indoor range. So that's not in the cards. So that whole floor is no longer gonna be what they had anticipated. They added a lot of space for offices that I didn't agree with. There was a sally port in the original building. I don't think we need a sally port. Sally port was originally developed for a safe transfer of a prisoner from a police car to a building. You drive in, there's one door into the building and one door out to the building. And what I have found in my career is sally ports double as a storage place for all kinds of dangerous things like shovels and rakes and all that. If you look in our sally port down there, it's a weaponry for anybody that could slip cuffs, even in cuffs, cause damage. We don't need one. We have a jail in town. We have a very large jail in town. And to process somebody that we feel is dangerous, we would just bring them to the jail anyway. Now, I can never guarantee everybody's gonna be safe, but we have a good idea on how that works. We build a rapport with even those that we arrest and have to bring in an uncomfortable situation. That's part of how our success is measured, is how can we make that a safe environment through our dealings with defendants, which we respect. We let them know what's going on at all times, all that. So we don't need a sally port, and that adds a lot of cost, believe it or not, to the square footage because it's an appendage to a building. It's not just a square building anymore, okay? So we wouldn't need that. We didn't need the office spaces. But conversely, in the new building that they developed in that original study, the evidence room was too small. Okay, it didn't have enough offices in the right spots for the structure that I'm bringing in. When they did that, they developed it for what they had at the time, which is about 7 officers. Okay, my plan that I've made no secret about is to make this a 12-person department. Okay, and we're at 10 right now. So that building wouldn't have been sufficient for the plan that I have in my head. And then, so when I really looked at all of that, I said, this isn't the building that we need. And if we're going to build a building with a shell of 2 floors and a basement, why wouldn't we bring everybody in this building into that? I think it would, I'd be so bold as to say, I think it would be a disservice to the community not to make them move all at once. Don't forget, this building is marketable. We had a company come in during this committee and give us an assessment of what the building was worth, okay? And from what we heard, about $1 million, give or take. That's not chump change, and that could certainly be used to offset a bond, right? Right? So now, I'm not gonna go out and on a limb right now without hard figures from the company that I'll speak of in a minute. But if you can move 2 entities into one building for not a lot of extra cost that it would have been to move the entity that everybody's in favor of, wouldn't you do it? Right? The other thing that this building doesn't give anything for the town offices is any growth at all. They're at max capacity. That's it. There's nowhere to grow. Yet services keep increasing, and the workload keeps increasing. And I don't equate that with population alone, because I know the population hasn't moved the needle a ton over the last few years. But nonetheless, we have developments going on, more services, and things like that are needed. So why wouldn't I? And that's why that idea in my head was born, is to centralize everything. The other part of that is the location. We have chosen a location that is essentially, you drive into the rec center, it's behind the rec center. As part of the tree clearing project that has already taken place over there, they cleared an area where the PD would go, okay, or the facility, the facility that would serve a multi-purpose would go. Now, if the building doesn't get voted for, that's going to be a parking lot, so it was going to be cleared either way. It wasn't part of this, and we didn't anticipate that either. I want that to be clear. I put it in the newsletter, but I just want to be clear for the record. We didn't go behind anybody's back and start clearing land in anticipation of everybody getting this. I'm sorry?
Parking lot.
It would be the whole rec center project that's going on. More parking is needed over there, was the assessment that I and that was part of that whole project about safety, about having the road go around, that they've already put in, and it came out beautifully. Beautiful. But anyway, I just didn't want anybody thinking we jumped the gun and just assumed the voters would approve this, because we're so far from that, right? This year, we've been working on it, have hired a firm, Weston and Sampson. They're an architect and engineering firm, very large, to do a feasibility study for this multiple-purpose building. The scope of the work I have here, and I'll read some things from it, and anybody can view this. We have a signed contract on file with the town offices. Anybody has access to that. But what we've done so far is we gave them the plans for this building. We gave them the office space plans, because they need a starting point. And then what we will do is give them an office needs assessment, which we already actually did, and have provided them some from the past, but it's going to need to be updated. Once they've started the project, which essentially with the information that we've given, they've started it. It's going to take about 2 months for them to do the feasibility. And then we can actually start getting into price. I know that's a very big concern for everybody. Has anybody in here seen the Norwich study that was done back in 2019? What it did was it said, this is what the building should cost you if you build it in 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, or maybe just 22, 23. Okay, which is great. We love that, but it wasn't correct numbers. I've had several professionals look at that and say, that's not. A lot of these buildings are based on square footage and what it's going to cost per square foot. I think their estimate for the Norwich study was somewhere around 175 square foot, which is not even in the ballpark. It's more like triple, maybe even quadruple. So their numbers for 2023 was a $3.7 million. Same size shell again that we're asking for with the multi-purpose building. they could have never imagined what inflation would do in 2023. And what's that?
What was the amount?
3.7 back, and that was developed in 2019. They could have never imagined what would happen in 22 and 23 with inflation. So, and that's why that's why Sampson even has said, well, the numbers have at least tripled or quadrupled. So the reality of it is are we probably looking at a $9 or $10 million building? I would guess. Probably somewhere in that. Now, does that change based on moving the town hall versus only having police? I personally don't think it's going to change a whole lot. And when I say a whole lot, I can't give you. I really can't. That's why we're waiting on Weston and Sampson to complete their study, because they're actually going to give us some numbers. They're actually going to give us a rendition drawing, which sometimes helps with a visualization for people. Is it going to be a full architectural engineering drawing? No, not right up front. That will all happen. You know, my goal with these types of meetings is to get as much information to you when I have it available each month, so that when people come to town meeting, they're not loaded with a lot of questions. Now, I realize that there are probably about 75 people that go to town meeting, and even more, that never see this room all year. They simply go to the school and they vote however they vote. And sometimes maybe that is dependent on the presentation given at the time, maybe it's not, I don't know. My goal is to have people make up their mind before they get there. My goal is to have my door open all the time so that people have questions, want to come down and talk to me, want to see come and talk to me. Tell me about your concerns. That's what I want to do all summer and all winter, is to communicate that to everybody on where we're at and what the projection is. And, you know, you can debate all day long whether or not you want the town hall in there, but my curiosity is, why wouldn't you? And I pose that to the folks here, if you want to answer that. It's just sort of an open-ended question. Why wouldn't you? Okay.
I mean,
Go ahead, Jim. I'll just take one at a time. I'll take Jim.
original study, you didn't need all that stuff. So you put together what you need for so many square feet, more square feet, more equipment. That's all I'm saying. So I think
right. And part of that, though, go ahead.
No, it's just
yep.
Like, already.
Right.
I don't really know how much. Like you say, it's not. I want to believe, but I have no idea.
No, and I don't either.
Like,
I'm just.
To me, if you have these
right.
guys, and
Let me ask you, does this room serve its purpose well? For what we need it for, does it serve? So when we have people standing in the hallway for a contested issue, does that serve the town well?
I call, we can have it up there. Yes,
but my point is that we use this for the current town meetings. Does it serve its purpose well? I'm asking you, I'm not arguing one way or the other.
You're more than I am, but I would say most of it is selective what you use. Like, heck,
right.
I'm sure there are times when you know there's going to be a lot. You could always.
You absolutely could.
It seems like, okay, so you want to get a new building once in a while.
Well, or would we have more attendance at these meetings if we had a larger space? I don't know. I don't. I'm just, again, it's open-ended questions. Yep, I get that. But, yes, I had a couple back
The
there.
sign back there says 97 people. I've never been here with 98.
I don't think you could fit 97 people.
Well, that's what it can hold. I'm
Sure.
willing to stand so somebody can sit down.
I get
So,
Yeah.
it's just it works.
Mhm.
It works.
I get it. I just asked the question for you
No
folks.
need to have a new fluffy one because this one's working.
Mhm.
So just to give you a little history.
Yeah.
So in
Thanks.
when town came to townspeople to build on town office, it was put to us as this is for the future, our future building. This is our future there's probably some of the bad taste found out too, when they tried to put through the new bylaw. Three renditions before the town got put in because the staff died. And then the taxpayers said, no, knock it down. What you're proposing is to go 8 times more.
But we're not in $2,010 anymore.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter. It actually is
The
factually
taxpayers
matters.
this town can't. Okay, and that's what you're gonna run up against. We are maxed out every town meeting. Add on, add on, add on.
Mhm.
Okay, and it's gotta stop somewhere. Force some people out of this town.
I understand that perspective, and I appreciate that perspective. Yes.
I thought there was a federal study or study somewhere that it is not recommended that police and town offices be combined in the same facility. I've heard that 2 or 3 times.
Not factual.
And the
Never
second
seen a
thing-
factual part of it.
Well, it's been referenced a number of times.
The
And
town
then
of Guilford just built the same building.
Also, you look at the plan, capital improvement plan, you see the costs that are coming out of there and all the other things that the various departments are proposing. That's impossible. And we've got a $3 million conservation bond that's going to weigh in the
Mhm.
next 3 years.
Sure. And again, this is to tell everybody what's going on. You're misunderstanding, like, this isn't a back and forth, oh my God, you're terrible, and this is really so that we can get these things out there. That's really what this is for. you
Well,
know.
I do have one more question.
Sure.
You said there's a feasibility study that's about 2 months.
Yep.
What are the different aspects of the feasibility study? What did they look at? What did they compare? What kind of factors did they compare?
Yeah, they'll factor, well, let me just talk about some of the scope of services.
Similar sized towns?
Yes, this particular company deals not exclusively with municipalities, but have a lot of municipalities. But let me talk about what the scope of their services. Well, they're already kind of past the meet with the key staff and things like that. We've given them information about office needs and things like that. Because they're gonna factor in day-to-day operations, day-to-day traffic in and out. The other part of this, that is a concern for us is the public safety and parking. There's no parking. If you come on a selectmen's night, I challenge you to get a fire engine through there when this car's parked on both sides. Those types of things they'll look at. They'll look at the flow that happens in this town hall currently and how to, if you can mitigate that. We don't, see, the problem is this building can go nowhere. It can't go up. The footings will not support another floor. And we're surrounded by water, so we can't go out. This is the capacity of this building. And what year did they do the addition to this? 2001. So we're more than 20 years removed. And I'm sure in 2000, now, if you put an addition on this building and it lasted this long and accommodated the staff this long, I'd say you got your money's worth. Definitely got your money's worth. But again, departments grow, towns grow. And that's really part of it too.
Town hasn't grown though.
I'm sorry?
That argument is not borne out in the facts. The town has not grown. I agree, maybe the demographics have.
You don't think the town's grown since 2001?
Since 2013, it has not grown at all.
Right, but since 2001 was the question. 'Cause he referenced that this would be good enough
In
forever.
2013, everything was fine, and the town has not grown. So therefore, that argument does not carry water. But it's an argument that's put forward by all of the selectmen cheerleaders, departments, etc. The town is growing, the town is growing. No, it's not.
Well, I can't speak to the population of the town. I can speak to what my numbers tell me in terms of services from police. And I can tell you that our numbers have grown exponentially, which is why when I came here in 2022, I said, oh my gosh, you need more police officers. Because the services that were being able to be covered by the current staff that we had was not enough.
However, if you add 5 more police officers, the numbers will grow.
What number?
Of incidents, of respondents, the things the police.
Or
have to
maybe
deal with.
because we didn't have 5 officers, we were missing a lot. We don't just generate it to generate numbers. We respond a lot to calls. And when you're not able to make those calls because of a depleted department, I mean, and plus the fact too, with the police department, we had a retention issue back then as well. So, I think we've addressed that in terms of that. But So, you know, the output has certainly grown, maybe not the population, but, you know, the output has grown, and the times have certainly changed, even since 2013. You know, but I can't speak to the population. I just know that we have new developments going in, so that's gotta add people, right? I mean,
It does not bear out in the.
right, and that's fine, I don't know those statistics, so I can't quote them. If you,
But this is what the information to supply you with the community. Great
okay,
facts.
that's a great idea, and I will definitely do that. No, and I'm trying to glean ideas from you folks too, just so you know, because I wanna know what your concerns are, right? That's part of what this is. This isn't just a total information. I mean, I wanna know what you guys have to say, right?
Our town to have a nice police department in town hall.
No, I know.
I'm just so concerned about where the taxes are.
And I get it.
We can't corral our own school system, and that's where most of the money is going, you know?
Well,
And
I can't speak to that, but yeah.
Unfortunately, that is part of it, you know,
Yes.
because that's to our total tax.
And you're right. I mean, I mean, I'm still paying for the Taj Mahal in the Sanborn Regional School District. You know, and I bucked and kicked at that. I thought 20 million was too big of a price tag. Apparently now those buildings are closer to 60 and 70 million, but, you know, so I understand where you're coming from. You know, and I can't say that I voted for that school, even though my kids were gonna benefit from it.
Right.
Yes, Paul?
I would just say, take a look at the police station, sure, chief would show you around. It's pretty bad.
Well, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you about the story about the PD. And again, I'm probably preaching to somewhat the choir, because I've all heard everybody say, you definitely need a police department. But when I first got here, I think I was here 2 weeks maybe, and I walked into the patrol room, and there was a puddle of water probably about 2 inches deep and about 4 feet wide in the middle of the patrol room, where all of the computers are there and all the erected. And I don't know if I was more surprised to see water in my patrol room or the reaction from my guys that said, oh yeah, that happens all the time whenever it's hot. I'm like, are you serious? And nobody's done anything about this? Because they've all just, well, it's Brentwood, this is what we got. That's no way to have a PD. I'm sorry?
That's kind of condescending.
No,
Say that.
I'm telling you what their opinion was. These are employees, they're not numbers, they're people, and they have feelings. And when they don't get things like that fixed, it says, what is this town doing for me and why should I work here? So it's not condescending, it's actually factual in what the feelings are. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm just repeating what was told to me, that's all.
Well, apparently it was an intermittent problem. It wasn't like there was 2 inches of water there 365 days a year. So it was rectified?
No, you can't, because we're below the water table downstairs, which is another reason to mitigate the problems. Like right now, I've heard, you know, people say, well, if you move out of there, the town hall can have all that room downstairs for expansion. Well, you have no elevator, which is required, and you still have a standing water issue, which is required. You still have evidence of black mold inside the walls. Well, so you would have to spend a tremendous amount of money on this building to mitigate those circumstances that are down there. You have a handicap ramp that probably is at a 45-degree angle. 45 degrees. If you put somebody in a wheelchair on that, they're gonna tip right. Those are the things that these folks look at every day. And now they've just grown to accept it. You know, and that's not, and I'm not saying that's anybody in this room's fault. I'm not saying you guys don't pay them well, and you guys have shown me tremendous support with everything I've tried to do with these folks. Everything. Tremendous support from the town. And you know what it is? They love working for this community because the community likes them. And that's huge. I can't say that about every community in New Hampshire. They realize on a day-to-day basis that this community likes them and accepts them, right? So other things downstairs is we're out of room with lockers. So if I add officers, they're gonna have to have a locker in a different room. We won't have a locker. You know, I mean, And Ben, I invite anybody down there, the budget committee's been down there several times. Anybody that wants to come, I will make the time, any time of the day to come and walk somebody through there and talk about the deficiencies. Yes, sir.
Have we thought about feasibility of this building and fire department? And then move them up there, because they would require not as much space as you.
You can't add on to the fire department because you got the solar panels. I don't know whose idea that was, but I would not have picked that location.
For $10 million, we could do a lot of stuff.
Yes, you could. You could use, you're right, you could. Not something I thought of, but yeah, it's a great, not something I thought of, but great idea.
I think it's a great idea because if someone wants is interested in building their business in Brentwood, and they see that solar panel, they're not gonna buy the lot across 125 or the Brentwood Antiques, right, Folly Falls Antiques.
Right.
It's a very bad area.
Those solar panels?
Yes.
Oh, no question. Nobody knows where Brentwood is until you say those solar panels. Oh, that place. Because nobody knows how beautiful the rest of the town is up there.
Yes, yes.
But it's true.
But it's true. I mean, I'm just, I don't, I can say right here, I don't particularly care for where they are. Okay, I wasn't involved in that at all. I don't know what went into it, the same way I don't know what went into the fire department. My understanding. We're supposed to be there.
To lay people like ourselves, we figured dispatch, you have an emergency, everybody's together, emergency.
No, I get that.
Savings, why in the world? But it was just because the chiefs and fire department, the townspeople tolerate it. Well, that's what the talk was back in.
But the thing of it is, and again, yeah, and you did? We put 250. Do you know what we put 250 into? Never heard that, but I'm not saying I doubt it, but I'm just saying I never heard that. The addition part downstairs, was that 80 grand or 40 grand? 30. But to Becky's point, the ideal model is a public safety building for the police and fire. And that's the best model possible. But my understanding is that there was still plans to add on the PD to the current fire department. But we never did it.
Well, why don't you look into that now then?
Because I got solar panels there.
So you're moving.
I've said that, I've said that several times, but
Came up at your meeting.
Let them
Yes.
expire, whether it's 7 years, it's just about us.
We already own it, so.
Well, I mean,
Solar
expire, I
panels.
mean, really, they're.
we don't own them yet, apparently.
We're still in the process of executing the termination agreement for the power purchase agreement.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen, it just
Right,
hasn't happened
but-
yet.
And I've said several times to several folks in town is, why can't we move those things? I would love it if we moved it, believe me. It would make a whole lot of sense.
So you're just gonna come in cash. I keep the lead. You know, everybody's overburdened. The big thing today is. Out of whack and ratio, higher cost. This year, 700.
Well,
Young people can't afford it. These guys, as they are, they can't afford it. So we're only going to make it much worse. We have, as Becky mentioned, $3 million fund. We already passed that 3 years ago. We did.
It's just a credit card.
$450,000 just.
Mhm.
But none of that is hit the taxpayers.
Right.
And you just dump this thing through coffers.
Well, I'm not saying, I just pulled that out of the air. That's not a firm number. It's just my best guess at this point.
But it's just gonna make this,
Right.
I mean, this town, you might as well give up on.
Well, you know, the thing of it is everybody's, well, the fire department took 4 years. You're never gonna get this. Well, if I listened to everybody and just didn't try, I mean, what would I be?
I think some of us are suggesting that there's wants and needs. But even Kingston, you know,
Mhm.
when you look at homes in Dover, they're only going to go up. But those costs, nice garage stuff.
Sure.
That, cost of infrastructure. Everything goes into.
Mhm.
Why couldn't we build something?
It's too small.
All right, but make it bigger, but make it that type of wood construction versus some granite, whatever. We haven't seen the condition.
Right.
But I think people are gonna say, what are the needs?
Mhm.
What are the wants? Why, if we can build them, we can sell a house for $1.2 million. Everything included, all in the cost. Why can't we build something? No, no, large, builders large.
Mhm.
That costs $1 million. I can't for $4 million. Size wise.
Sure.
Put you guys in.
Well, because, I mean, when you're building residential houses, there's a big difference between that and a commercial building. Number one, you need an elevator in this building.
Keep it on one floor like the Kingston PD. Can't leave it.
Well, I don't think that that would serve our purpose. I really don't. We need a meeting room. I mean, this building would be would be ridiculously long.
Well, look, they're also accessible. Everybody in town, there's no people in town.
Right.
Accessibility. You don't need elevators.
Well, by code, you need an elevator if you got 2 floors.
If
So-
you have 2 floors.
Right.
Kingston's a bigger town than we are. Why can't?
They've outgrown that building 10 years ago, and they all complain about it. They just built a Taj Mahal of a fire department. The next thing is gonna be the police department.
I mean, if you can sell it, it's great.
Oh, I get you. I wish we could just do that. I wish we could just plop a building. A better example is East Kingston. Have you seen that building? Beautiful. The police department. It's built out in the middle of nowhere. Bali donated some land for them, and they built a beautiful one-floor police department. But they're also a department of 4 full-timers, and they have a 3 Sallyport garage, right? But that, even, I think they built it 10 years ago. Even 10 years ago, that building was $3 million, right? But it's 1 floor, right? So, you know, and again, I love all the ideas and ideas about the fire department and that area, and I get it. This is an uphill challenge. There's no question about it. There's no question about it. It's an uphill battle. Becky, raise your
What
hand.
else is in the feasibility study? You started
Yes.
to talk about that.
Yep, sorry. Jim, did you have a quick question?
No, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
feasibility, what is it?
All right, let's see. Let me just hit some of the highlights here. So the scope of services is to, they're gonna prepare a space needs matrix for us. They're gonna give and they're gonna meet with all of us again to describe day-to-day operations, the 24-hour operations as well, not just day-to-day here. They are gonna look at all of the storage that we're going to need. We don't have enough storage. Has anybody seen my storage shed down there? It's 2 doors and the storage shed is this deep. That's all I got. That's all I have for storage. Otherwise, I gotta put it in the garage. The garage is a junk garage, right? I believe the town hall their vault is getting full or at capacity. They also will do a needs mix on anticipated growth for the town. They got all formulas for that I won't even pretend to know about. That may address your concerns, Jim, or I don't know. They're gonna revise the space needs matrix that we already created, because it wasn't quite done the right way with the Norwich University. Again, I don't wanna discount what the kids did at Norwich. They did a great school project, but that's what it was a school project. And probably some of those are professionals now working in an engineering firm. That's how long ago it was. They're also gonna develop building and site alternatives on the preferred site. Now, that doesn't mean I can't tell them to look at the other areas that you folks are talking about. We're not locked into anything right now.
Seems
Nothing.
you are though,
Well, I'm locked into where I would like it to go, but
hence the trepidation from the taxpayer that this is already a done deal. Now it's,
well,
how
if
small can you make your Taj Mahal to the taxpayers, and we're stuck.
would you rather I come to you with a site location or just say I need $10 million to put a building somewhere in Brentwood?
No, not at all.
I can't do that, right?
I
So
would
you-
suggest instead, because there's been a number of options here,
Sure.
you take over this building, you move the town elsewhere. The town has known about the problem for 20 years for the police department in this basement.
Mhm.
They haven't done a thing.
Well, I
It
wouldn't
looks
say
like
that. I
they
wouldn't
haven't
say that.
really done anything to fix the problem. You throw money at Band-Aids all the time. The fire department was sold to us initially as a safety complex. For whatever reason, it became the fire station.
Sure.
Okay?
Yep.
So now there's an opportunity to take either the police department and go there, or the town to go there. It seems as though your blue ribbon panel of designers has already decided on a site, you guys already got a site, and as taxpayers, I feel like here comes another massive mess that is just, even though we are a very generous town,
Mhm.
we are at that point where we're just gonna say, I've had it, I can't take it, I can't do anymore.
Sure.
And you've got, between you and whoever the group is that's currently involved with designing this and moving forward.
Yep.
I don't know if there's someone on your blue ribbon panel that is actually a taxpayer representative to look at these different ideas. It seems as though
There
the
are.
location is already set in stone, and this is gonna be it, roads put in place.
Well, we actually
We're
changed the
married to it.
location from the original one. The original one was right behind the fire department on that hill. And I would come out my front door and look at the back of panels. So I wanted to change that. You know, we have to start somewhere. We've got to start somewhere. And just picking a location is not going around the taxpayers. It's just picking a location and saying, okay, this is what we'd like to do. Okay? Now, I can't speak for the past here in Brentwood. I can't. I wasn't here for the fire department. I wasn't here for fixing this building, however mishmashed it might have been. I wasn't here for that, so I can't speak to it. Were there some mistakes made? Sure, of course. Towns make mistakes all the time. It's a question of how much they cost, right? And other things that go into it. But, you know, I don't want you to think that this is already a done deal, because that's why you're here, right? If it was a done deal, I would just not include anybody, and I'd throw it up for a roll call at town meeting and probably get defeated. Yes. You know, I don't know. Yeah. And again, that was built before we hit this big bubble in the inflation. So you could probably add 20–30% to that, maybe, I don't know, I'm not an economist. But it's gonna add significant costs since that was done. We've got 5,000 square feet down there now, probably about 4 of it's useful. We need at least double that, at least. Yeah, and this floor, I think, is also 5,000. The whole footprint of the building is 10,000 square feet-ish, right? Now, I never thought about moving the PD up here. The layout would not be great. It would have to be completely gutted and changed over. What that would cost, I have no idea. We still wouldn't use the downstairs. It's got water. I'm not sending my guys down there if I have another spot to send them.
Well, and part of the feasibility study will also look at the additional costs of construction to add the town offices to it, and then separately, what are the renovation costs downstairs to make that usable office space, including the elevator, to make it ADA accessible, and how to convert the current existing PD with jail cells and all of that to usable office space for the public, to see how all of those costs are factored in and make sense.
Thank you, I forgot about that. we did that in Wakefield. We did just that thing in Wakefield. And you know how long it took them to fix the upstairs? 20 years. 20 years.
Some of us have been back to the
Oh, I get it. But it took them 20 years. The problem is that towns generally will try to kick part of a project down the road many times over. In a perfect example in this town, we've already proven we can do it. We were supposed to have a public safety building. We never even came close. Never even sniffed it. Right?
Correct the cost.
Right. But, you know, again, but,
That's what I, Brooklyn, that's where I've always thought we should build that part of it, and then the upstairs. Right now, they're not needing to move the town. They, down the road, the taxpayers, they just don't need, we don't need another town office right now.
All these things are nice, but
right. Sure.
your guys, I've spoken to them. They can't afford it.
Mhm. We are, you know, a little better than middle of the pack, yes. We,
Years of
they're saying they gotta keep up with Brentwood. Right. Oh, I get it. And I get how
But
that.
you have to be competitive.
And you folks have been gracious, and our town officials have been gracious about helping me get, you know, to me, retention is not just about pay. It truly is not. It's a portion of it, but everybody wants to know two things. When they gotta work and how much you're gonna pay them, right? Because that affects every part of their life. I can always affect when they work. And the town has been gracious enough to allow me to help out with how much they get paid for their
Well,
work.
listen, you could explain it. Also, cost of uniform.
Sure.
Everything.
Oh, no question. No, that's part of it. It's part of it. But, you know, part of it is the community retains. For me, you guys do the retention for me as well. You don't realize it, but there's places out there that their residents do not like their police because their police don't treat them with respect. You know, and that's where it starts. So you guys play a part in the retention here just as much as I do, truthfully, and I mean that. These guys, if I could show you all the letters that we get and all the comments, the positive things that we get sent to us and the cookies and all that other stuff. But, you know, so you guys act as part of that too, definitely. Yes, sir. Yep. Mhm. Yep. And again, I don't want to lock into a price right now because I don't know. But as we go to one more meeting, maybe two, we will probably have a fairly good idea on what we're looking at. This
Is the feasibility study, are you going to look at, just like you said,
Mhm. Yes.
so are you look, is it gonna tell us, we can do a police department, it's gonna look like it's a mess. And you kinda said, we can.
Yeah, that's what-
For a little
yeah.
bit more, we could do, like, is it gonna, are you gonna have it priced just for the police department? And then, is that gonna be?
That's part of what we're asking for from them is to tell us
Because I think
what the
that's-
addition of a town hall will mean to us.
Right.
So let me ask you this, if it comes back, that the addition of the town hall would cost $1 million extra.
No.
Let me finish. You haven't even let me finish, Jim. Let me finish. And we sold this building for $1 million. Wouldn't that be a no-brainer?
No one's gonna buy the building for $1 million.
It was a hypothetical question. Let me control the facts of it, please.
These aren't facts, though.
It's in my hypothetical. I'm just posing a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Just if it was an even trade, would people still be supportive of the town hall moving?
No,
Wouldn't that be a no-brainer?
it's terrible. It's a terrible idea. We don't need a new town hall.
Do you work in here? Right, so you don't have all the facts. You don't. You don't know the limitations of the building. But you want to bring facts, but bring facts. We don't need one doesn't say anything to me. I need examples of why we don't need one.
It's
What,
perfectly acceptable.
okay, to you, right?
So
But
why-
my
why
question,
move so far?
right, and again, I'm not trying to start a debate. I'm just asking you to open your eyes and look at all of the optics and look at it from everybody's point of view, not just your subjective point of view. There are people that work in this town hall that want this to happen, and they're
Of course they
taxpayers.
do.
And they're taxpayers.
Of course they do.
Right, but again, my point is that just open your, I'm not asking you to vote for this or anything like that, just open your mind a little bit to some other optics in how different people view things, that's all I'm asking. Is to not just shut everything down and wait for all the information to come forward as it comes. Because as it comes, we're gonna be sharing it with you folks. You know, and then you have your chance to say yes or no on voting day. Yeah.
I might even, trying to wrap my head around why do we need 5 square feet for a job is usually out on the road in the community. So they were probably there for roll call maybe. Again, I don't know what I see on history rules.
Right, but we're not like that. They spend a significant amount of time in here against their wishes. They gotta write reports. I have two corporals in one office right now, and you can't even move in. I went in there today to talk to the corporal. I said, what is going on? He's like, I don't know where to put anything. Right? We have, we have a canine who doesn't even have his own office. Right? Every other PD that I've known of has a separate office for a canine, so you can keep a crate in there and all the needs in there. We don't have that. Okay, we don't have a conference room to have meetings. We have, this is not the place to have a police meeting. This is a public part. We need a secure location where the public is not allowed in, right?
What goes on here? Public should be-
Well, if we're discussing cases and we're discussing police techniques and training, we need a training facility. Okay, we can't have training. I can't, most of the companies that offer the training now give slots to those, give 2 or 3 slots to those PDs that can host trainings. We couldn't even sniff that right? And that's free training. It's the tune of $600 a whack. You know? Right, they have a training room, and we've tried to integrate that, but then we've got to schedule it around their schedule, you know. But you seem that that's a
It doesn't seem
problem.
like a huge obstacle. I don't feel as though options are being weighed as adding on to the fire department or something like merging with the county jail complex.
We can't. I'm not gonna do it. That's a county project, and has nothing to do with us. I would never even sniff that. We can't. Yeah, it's their property, we don't own it, and we don't want any part of it. I like to thinking outside the box, don't get me wrong. And that currently, just currently as we sit here tonight, Jim, we can't add on to the fire department. There's no possible way at current time. You have a parking lot there and you have solar panels. I can't move those myself.
I see those obstacles, but you're portraying to me that this is a no-go scenario no matter what.
No, I'm not
And
saying.
perhaps something to be looked into as an alternative. I don't know if the feasibility study people are general contractors looking ultimately to get our work.
They
and
won't get
off
our
they go.
They're not
I
builders.
don't know.
Yeah, they're not builders.
I don't know, I'm just being very cautious on all these proposals for all these new government things that are needed by the government officials. Taxpayers are saying,
Mhm.
like Bruce says, there's needs and there's wants. And as a taxpayer, I see everything fuzzy into this completely gray area that's difficult to sell
I get you.
for you to make.
I get you.
Because of what has happened in the past and what's down the road and just what we've seen year after year.
Sure, I totally get that, Jim. I mean, sometimes all you can speak from is history, right? And most of the time we try not to repeat history, if we can, unless it's good, right? Unless it's good. So would I repeat what the fire department did back then? I would try not to. But I don't know all the mistakes that were made, if any. You know, it's just that I know that it was planned for a public safety building and it never even came close. Not even close. Like, I don't know what went into the solar panels, but did anybody raise their hand and go, wait a minute, I thought we were putting a PD next to them? I don't know. You guys tell me because you were there. Why didn't anybody? Why didn't anybody go, hey, we still got water in our basement over here in the PD. Why can't we not put the solar panels there? Why can't we put them off of Prescott or somewhere else? I don't know. I don't know the answers to those questions, so I can't factor them in. All I can say is what happened or what didn't happen, and we didn't get a public safety board, right? So we can sit here till we're blue in the face and say, well, we'll add on the town hall later. History says you won't, because there's always gonna be a cost to it. And, you know, and the cost is not ever gonna go down as far as I can tell. So to put a building up today for 10 might cost you 20 in 5 or 6 years. I don't know. But if history says anything, costs go up. Well, I'd be interested to see what the cost of actually finishing the upstairs would be versus not. Because once you put that ground floor up, that's the most of your cost. Once you get the first floor, each additional floor doesn't just necessarily double the cost. We know that.
You know, what you hear is frustration.
Oh, no, I know.
And the idea, that's what I feel for
Right.
all the facts.
And that's what I'm trying, but I don't have all of them, but this is why I want you folks here. You know, I would have never thought about, you know, some of the things that you talked about, but we have them, and we can certainly take them back to the committee. That's why this is the process working as I had hoped it would. Yes, sir.
Regarding the land that's already been cleared up at the rec center,
Yes, sir.
so that's projected for the complex. But say it gets voted down,
Mhm.
so it's gonna turn into a parking.
That's what I hear. I'm not part of that.
Lot.
Is that correct?
Yes, it would be additional parking for BRC needs.
It'll be additional parking, so that, I'm just theoretically gonna say,
Sure,
now we've got a parking. So who's the parking for? People in Brentwood? I mean, cause there's a parking lot, there's parking in front of the building, there's parking out back, why do we need the additional parking? Is it for others coming in?
Parking is,
And if it becomes a parking lot, then the complex has to go somewhere else, or does the complex then in the future pick out the parking lot, build it where it's gonna be, not go to the fire station, or to some other place? You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
Like
that's a
spend
little
money
too
on the
far
parking
ahead
and-
for me. See, I had nothing to do with the parking lot. Nothing. I
Well,
couldn't
land's
answer one
clear,
question.
that's the thing, that's the.
Yes. But I wanted you to know that the two are mutually exclusive.
Right, but if they build the complex, now where's the parking gonna be? So now you're gonna build another parking area, so you've gotta clear more land somewhere else.
Yeah, right, where the solar panels are, right? No, I mean, in what my thought is that there would be additional parking added onto the parking or for the multi-complex. Probably somewhere in the area of the gazebo to connect all the parking lots. Is my guess. I have no factual basis on that, but if I was planning it, that would be my.
So we heard that some of our town workers aren't happy with the town office.
it's not that we're not happy with the space. We're at max capacity here. So our vault is too full. Our office spaces are limited. If we were to grow any staff at all, we have no place to put them. We do need to grow staff. We do have some remote position. Well, they're not. No position is fully remote. We do have some positions that do work remotely 1 day a week. We do have people here that are customer facing. The offices here are not set up for any sort of privacy at all. So, and anytime I need to deal with an HR issue, a personnel issue, any litigation or law, I can't speak for my office. I have no privacy in my office. So I have to leave my office, I have to come in here, shut the doors, put on the sound machine, or I have to go out to my car and use the telephone, or I go downstairs and use their interrogation room. I shouldn't have to do that. I should be able to do my job from my office. You know, so that's
$dollars is that worth?
one of,
I think
that's
a
an
little uncalled
instance.
for. That's a little uncalled for. But I think,
we're
but you're
taxed out.
starting to insult now, and I think that's uncalled for.
Sorry, but we are taxed out. We have been insulted for years as far as everything on the planet is funded.
You've had the opportunity to exercise your vote every year, Jim. And if the rest of the town doesn't agree with the way your vote goes, that's the way it goes. And I understand that with this process, but to be insulting, there's no room for that at these meetings, and I won't tolerate it, period. This isn't town meeting. Thank you.
Question, since the issue of what complex possibly could go up by the rec center.
Yes.
And the land is cleared, there is so much going on with the rec center's visioning about other buildings, other parking, taking down past a pavilion, doing, how does this all get integrated together? That was a question that was presented to the select board last year, and there was a short-term discussion of bringing together all the projects and trying to lay out the priorities. This is a lot going on. I mean, we don't have a handle on all this unfolding, what is really needed, how do you get the best use out of space, property. I mean, we haven't even approved the charrette, and there are all kinds of things being talked about being
Yep.
done. And we haven't even had a public, we haven't even sat down and said, okay, yes, let's do this, let's do that. Things are just. And
Well,
that's
the thing is, if I wait for everybody,
No,
we'll put another 5 years into this. Yeah, and I get it. There's a lot of projects going on in town. And that's part of why they brought in the CIP to sort of centralize some of that stuff. And I get that that's a process that has to work and has to have input from everybody. But if I base this project on everybody else trying to get in line, I won't get in.
So you mentioned the CIP, that's due June 26th, I think,
I think around there.
will any figures be in there for this? Any estimates?
We put a preliminary figure of 4.5 million in there before we talked to Weston and Sampson, so we've got to update. But I can't give a full, I'm gonna just throw 10 million in it to say that's what my guess is, but what else am I gonna do? I know it's not gonna be 4.5.
So you will update that?
Yes.
yeah.
But it can't be a hard price yet until I get the information. Jim?
No, I was just, I used to call it a master plan.
We still have a master plan, and the town planner still updates a chapter every year. The select board has also placed a select board representative on the rec commission, which is new over the last 18 months or so. So that helps them stay more involved with the rec commission and make sure that their vision and their mission is in line with the rest of the goals.
I think that's part of the sell of this, is that we're municipal center. That's a nice thing. Again, I think this is part of selling this to the community from a long-term planning and stages as we grow this thing that municipal center. And then there's the financial part.
Sure.
This is still of the whole concept of moving there, and I think it's a good idea. But like, phases, and I'll just reiterate, I mean, I've been here 6 years.
Mhm.
I've been involved in 2 of these, I think we've been kind of major projects. In both cases, I know for them crazy.
Sure.
I told you this.
Yeah, yeah, and I
Which is
remember
why
your
I'm
quote
making-
from
and
town meeting.
That's why I'm like, when I got to town meeting with my prepared speech, ready to go up to the microphone, telling everyone in town to spend the $200,000 for this. Honestly, I had it in my hand. I was in
I
line.
know, I remember.
In line. 3 people ahead of me. All of a sudden I realized I didn't know what I was talking about.
Right, and that's
So
what I want to avoid.
Right.
That's what I'm
And then
trying to
with the
avoid.
charrette, I went to both meetings. I participated, and I don't think I've never seen a fog alarm. And next thing I know, there's a road, and they're cutting trees. So like, the skeptic in me is like, oh boy, what is? And on that charrette, like I said, where is it tied into this master plan?
Mhm.
In fact, I don't even know if the room, like, I don't know if it's ever been thought about. And I know that's not easy,
Right.
but you can understand, like, all the costs, and it's like, oh, here we go. And now we're back, decisions already been made, it's just a recount and
Again, this is why I'm having these every
Right,
month
right.
till
So I think it's
till
so
town
good.
meeting. I will have them, and if I need to have them twice a week or twice a month, I'll have them. Because I don't want anybody feeling like that about this
Yeah.
project. I want the input. I want, if we make a directive turn, I want your input. The only directive turn we've made so far is tentatively picked a location, and we've hired a firm to do a feasibility. Those are the only determined things that we've done thus far, other than talk about how great it would be to have this, or how great it would. We know that there's a big list of wants that aren't needs, which is why I went through the first plans and picked out a bunch of wants that I didn't need. You know, like a fire. Sure, would it be great if the PD had it? Yeah, but it's not a need. These guys don't need that. We have the use of other ranges, and we're actually looking at some property in the future to hopefully have our own outdoor range that property is not doing. You know, so those are the only things that are set in stone. As we've approved, or the select board has approved, a $10,000 for the feasibility study to come out of the capital reserve fund that's previously been established. I think it has 100 in it. I'm not great with the numbers, thank you, so. But it's got, you know, so we took it out of that, and the select board approved it. You folks have approved the addition to that fund every year. So those are the only set in stone things we've done so far. So we're not, I don't want anybody to feel like we went behind their back on anything, which is why I was so adamant about, I didn't tell them to cut down the trees. It wasn't for me. You know, so I don't want, I want people to talk about this meeting with their neighbors, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. I want the word to get out so that the next time I have a meeting, hopefully I have double this amount. And I can get all of the input and all the relative input, rather than, you know, I want constructive ideas that get gotten to. That's good for us. That's good for us to talk about as a committee. You know, I want you guys to.
We
Yes.
left off on the feasibility study, the building site alternatives.
Yep. They're gonna prepare a conceptual cost estimate with the preferred and a site alternative. Site alternative, okay? And what that alternative looks like, I don't know. You know, they're gonna take a look around, the Norwich study, they looked at property owned by the town behind the fire department, I think someplace on Scrabble, and then another location. And that study determined that the best location out of the three, which was not the rec center, the best one was behind the fire. That's what that study determined. They looked at 3 viable sites. I think they dug test pits at all of them, all that kind of groundwork. Or Kip dug the test pits, and determined that. Now, and again, when we looked at that site, and it really didn't hit me till we actually went up and walked the site behind the fire department. I didn't like what the public would see when they drove up. They're gonna look down at the back of the same panels that they hate, right? I just didn't like it. I didn't like the flow.
Will it be part of the feasibility study?
What's that?
Either relocate or remove?
I-
It sounds like you don't want. I don't know who in town does.
I don't know. I've not talked to one person that is like, oh my God,
So
this is the
she
best
just got up
thing
and
ever.
said, why do we have?
Really nice. You know, and if those are moved, maybe that opens up possibilities.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What if it's not expensive to trash the things? Like, I mean, honestly, if it saves you money and gives you gives you what you want.
I never looked into it because we didn't own it. That's why I haven't even looked at it. Right.
Well, I don't think relocating the panels changes the building envelope or the ability for the PD to relocate to that facility. Because I think where they're located is just right outside of the state's right-of-way. So I don't think that would be impactful at changing the square footage or changing the footprint of the building in any dramatic way.
I know Kip said that there was a problem with the setback from the building.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seriously, even
And there's also a right of way that we can't get rid of.
Did you do that on purpose?
No, I didn't. Not made for short people, that's for sure. No, and again, we did look at that, because the original one, there was so much concern about just the access to it. We had to go around that little wetland, but you couldn't disturb the right of way that came off of 125. So I know that was a big hurdle, or whatever. They could have done it, but it would have eaten up a lot of Joe's parking. That's why, that was another reason why I'm like, why would we do all of that? And then when you drive in, you'd literally be this far from the panels. You know, when you drive up the driveway. But it just goes to show you that we're fluid with this and we're willing to look at other
Right, right.
opportunities in areas, even in town. You know, I know
I just
somebody
say,
had
if you
brought
do a
up,
feasibility study, there's a nice complex over there for the future. Ooh, very nice.
I would love it, believe me.
No, and I don't know who, I always hear that same thing.
Well, who put them there?
I don't know, they would, but what I'm saying is, I don't.
Yeah, I'm sure, I mean, I know it was voted.
Made sense, I don't think Jeremy, I don't think. Compared to, well, you know, the front, you just, you get the things out of there.
Maybe this is the.
Thank you very much.
You can pass that around.
I'll make copies.
Yes, the demerit property can be built on.
I don't know, but I can get it online for you.
Okay.
I'll put it online, okay?
I think they have.
Where's that?
It's the parcel behind the BRC. It's adjacent to it. But it was, part of the terms was it had to be restricted for specific agricultural and recreational uses until the town had a need for it. And then it could be developed. 125.
Yes, sir. Not yet. I already know that we will qualify to some extent. Part of my other vision in this is to, is the training room or the meeting room for the PD, but training, and the fire could use it as well, will double as an emergency management center. And because of that, we would qualify for funds from the government. Did it at a building up in Wakefield. You just take what the square footage of the emergency management center is and what that percentage is of the total project, you may be. So, and we did it, you know, granted, much smaller scale up there for what we had for the emergency management center. But that's part of it. And I'll, believe me, we've got plenty of grants that we never got. You know, we're still generating stuff. I just sent a full list of all the ones. So we will explore every grant.
But no, we don't have a grant writer on staff.
Not yet. It's coming.
No. Well, there was funding if we were to contract out that work, but we do not have an employee right.
Anybody a grant writer? Yes, sir.
Can I ask Bruce a question? Bruce, sky's the limit. Is there physically the ability to add a police station to the fire department, assuming no solar panels? Is there room with setbacks and everything else to do such a foundational improvement?
Now, this is such that you look into, but you aren't going to. Town, as far as the building, does not have to
With the state. Yeah.
state one is just physically, they don't have, state doesn't have setbacks.
Right. And they own to a certain extent.
They won't infringe on.
So theoretically then, there's no hurdle that you see of that is this strong.
In the town,
Yes, exactly.
so
Right.
you wouldn't want to do something that's unsafe. Question about setback from 100 feet.
Right. Thank you, Jim. Any other questions? Michelle, you have anything? Nothing?
I think we're all just going to be, all kind of talk about this. Exactly.
Right. And again, I had to start somewhere with getting people together. This is already double what I got at the first one last fall. And the first one last fall was made up of almost all committee members. That's why I didn't invite everybody. Yes, Becky.
Just a point, I did not, I read the newsletter, but I looked on the town calendar to find this meeting. I didn't see it on the weekend advance. It was only on the full calendar, and
You have to when you look at the calendar, you have to click more events, and then when the full month populates, then you can see these.
That,
I know the
until
lieutenant
this
did.
afternoon.
Yeah, he put it on there last week.
Just wasn't visible. when
No,
I was
that's good
there.
to know, man, but yeah,
Yeah.
So maybe that would be a priority meeting, talking $10 million.
and we'll
versus
start,
having-
Right.
People don't see it, you don't see it, you don't know necessarily know to go over and hit another button.
Right, and that's something that we're working with the communications committee to fix on the
or
website.
maybe we can put a banner up a couple days before. And we'll put it on our Facebook page too. He's been gracious. I got a wonderful write-up from them. And then the other thing, just so you folks know, just so you folks know, so next Tuesday is our meeting, the public meeting with the committee. Public is welcome. And 1:30 up here. But directly after that, we'll post the next public meeting for here, because that's when we decide. And it'll always be a week before we meet as a committee. And again, if you are available, please come to the committee. You can meet all the committee members. And they can, we're gonna put all this in type for all the members and send it out to them, so that we can get them on board with what happens next. Any other questions, comments? Good.
Just all of the ideas.
I wanna get more information on the solar panels. I wanna get, it seems like, but the two locations I can tell you are ruled out is the empty lot across the street here, at the corner of 125 and Middle, will not support the building. I know it's been brought up several times. It's just wetlands and stuff over there. Right, and then the other parcel that some people have brought up is the corner of South Road and 125 where the old nursery was. Not a good spot. But that intersection is a disaster as it is. And it's too far south. It's at the southern tip of the town. We want to be. So just if anybody had those ideas, I just want to tell you, we've looked at them. And they're just, I don't know, I don't recall where that is. I'd have to look back at the study. But they discounted it when they did the study. Well, the problem, I think, part of it, if it were put to me now, I would say that the exit on the 125 from Scrabble Road for police business is not a good spot. It's just not. I think we'd cause a lot of accidents.
You mentioned the police station, is that on 107?
108.
108?
Yep.
Is that the center of town?
No, that's actually, but
You
their
can throw a
town's
rock
much
in-
smaller.
You
Their
can
town's
throw a
smaller.
rock in it, too.
Yeah.
So that's.
Well, I live right over the Noon line, so I know that.
Familiar, but that's,
Yeah, I wouldn't have picked it, but I think they took it because Bowie donated the land and it was free. Yeah,
Free is good.
I think free is always good, especially if you already own it. So, but folks, I really do appreciate your comments and this is what I need. I've heard anecdotal stories here and there, but until faces in front of me actually talking to us, I won't know, right? So, and it helps us in our meetings. It will help us direct focus where we need to be. So thank you very much for your time. Not bad, an hour and 20 minutes, that's not bad.